So, YouTube, welcome back to the Market Outlook series. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. So pretty much in today's video, we will just do a outlook on some of the pairs that we usually look at. We will see pretty much some of the moves that we're able to catch in the week ahead. And when it comes to the prior outlooks that I did, we can clearly see that about 60 to 70% of the outlooks pretty much played out, especially from a high time frame perspective. And the reason why some of the lower time frame outlooks that we had might not have played out, it has a lot to do with the news as well. But when you look at the pretty much the higher time frame understanding of or the general understanding behind news, right? The news pretty much is just a strong catalyst for price to continue its higher time frame directional bias, right? So if price is bearish on the lower time frames, the news can pretty much can have a huge effect on the lower time frame, especially let's say you have a POI on the lower time frame. Sometimes the news can just violate those POIs, but usually it tends to respect the higher time frame directional bias, right? So we can clearly see that in this week, pretty much the news that we had, they just confirmed our preset higher time frame directional bias. So we can start the outlook, for example, with USD, as we usually do. And I brought right here a picture. Pretty much this is just the Euro USD from a 6-month period, right? It can be a mid-year outlook, as I can say, right? As we can clearly see, we can see the price pretty much Euro USD has been bullish from a yearly from a yearly time frame, right? We can see that we had the previous high, low, then a high, low, and then a high. So then we can clearly see that price currently is just doing this huge pullback right here. Everything that we see in the daily, that bearish order flow, is towards this yearly bullish POI. So then we can see a continuation to the upside. So when you look at it from the yearly, that's how we pretty much we situate ourselves. It's very important to pretty much understand, because price, if we look at the daily, we will think that, okay, we will just sell USD forever, right? But when you come to the yearly time frame, you will be able to get the overall picture, right, from a high time frame perspective, right? We can clearly see that we have this beautiful bearish, bullish order block right here, the last down candle before the up move, and now we're pretty much seeing price getting closer to this bullish POI. So at this POI, pretty much I'll just be waiting for some sort of weekly change of character, right, before start. I mean, soon price gets here, right? I'll be looking for a weekly change of character or 2 breaks of structure, right? Pretty much just to signal that, okay, price now is about to start that bullish order flow to grab this yearly previous high, right? So that's it for the USD from a yearly time frame perspective. We can go down to the daily time frame, right? So if we look at the daily time frame, we can clearly see that, I mean, daily time frame is heavily bearish, right? We're seeing this beautiful mitigation play right here on Euro USD. Recently, we just saw price actually mitigating this daily POI, and pretty much that's our bias, right? From the daily, it's just bearish to look pretty much for long-term sales to take out the daily previous low. So soon price actually got to that POI, we can drop down, for example, to 2 hours time frame. And we can clearly see that we had a beautiful change of character right here, because this, when you look at it from a swing structure perspective, right, we can clearly see that we had this high, right? Then we had this low that was responsible for putting this high right here, right? So at this particular moment, all the way, I mean, this was the swing low, right? So price was bullish here. Then we had price actually breaking. So this is what we call the change of character, right? That first sign of bearish intention. Recently, I mean, all the way to Friday, right? We just had the mitigation of the extreme, because this actually was the last push to the upside before this down move right here that went on to take the previous low. So pretty much we just had this beautiful, I mean, price just came back right here and mitigated the POI, right? This zone right here. Now, soon price got there. I was actually looking for sales around in Thursday and Friday, right? So I was trying to look for sales. I actually didn't get any lower time frame entry from Thursday to Friday, right? I mean, all my rules, I mean, wasn't present right there. But if we drop down, for example, to 15 minutes, soon price actually got to that 4-hour POI. So you guys can see the relationship here, right? We've went from the daily, right? And then we had the 2-hour change of character. It can be 1 hour. And then we come to 15 minutes, right? So we can clearly see that we're looking always for that structure shift to the downside so we can follow the high time frame directional bias, which is bearish, right? So price actually tapped that 4-hour POI. We had a beautiful 15-minute change of character right here. Then price actually came back. This actually was news, right? So we can clearly see that the news was just to confirm the general high time frame directional bias, right? Which is bearish. So price actually just came back right here, grabbed this previous high right here, just mitigated the POI, and now actually pushed to the downside. We had a change of character. Usually I don't consider breaks, weak breaks. I mean, for me, it's body breaks are much more reliable, right? Weak breaks tend to be just a liquidity or failure for price to continue to the downside, right? So right here, we can see that, okay, this was just a price just taken out that low. What I'll be waiting to see, soon the market opens, probably to see price actually coming down below just to close below, and then we see a push to the upside to this POI, and then we see a continuation, or price may actually just come all the way up here, and then we see a continuation to the downside. So soon price gets here, I'll be looking for some sort of 3-minute change of character, and then we can take the sell all the way to grab this daily previous low sitting below, right? So pretty much we can clearly see that the daily is bearish, hourly time frame just turned bearish with that change of character, and the 15-minute is bearish. So pretty much that's how we establish that relationship with the high time frames and lower time frame. We want to make sure they're always in conflict with each other, right? So pretty much we just had our sell confirmation right here. We have change of character confirmation right here. Pretty much price failing to put a high, respecting the bearish sentiment in the market. And then now we're looking to see if price actually will come down below to close below this previous low, and then we see a push to the upside, or we can just see price actually coming all the way up here, and then we see price pushing to the downside, right? So that's it for Euro USD. Let's move to another pair. So Aussie dollar, right? Aussie dollar, we can start from the weekly time frame, right? We can see something very interesting on Aussie dollar, right? Is that if we look at Aussie dollar from the monthly time frame, let me just put the monthly right here. We can clearly see that we had this previous low right here, right? We had this previous low, we had this previous high, then a low. So we can clearly see the price just came all the way to the extreme. We had a mitigation. So this week failed to take out the high, so it's weak and it's bound to be liquidated very shortly. So pretty much we can see that bearish, Aussie dollar has been heavily bearish, and we're expecting to see this low actually getting taken out, right? So one thing we can do is we can drop down to the daily time frame. So we can see that on the daily, pretty much the daily is heavily bearish right here. And let me just bring price to the 4-hour time frame so we can see this properly. Okay, so we can clearly see that I actually was able to refine this POI to 15 minutes, but this actually was the extreme of this high right here, because we can see that this high is what we call institutional candle. That's when they sweep the previous high and then they engineer the move to grab the previous low, right? So this, some people call this a strong high. So that's pretty much the same thing, right? The concept is that this high pretty much grabs the liquidity sitting at the previous solidified high, which was this one right here. So we saw the liquidation right there. And this actually was the catalyst move that went on to take this previous low right here, right? So we had this huge mitigation all the way to the upside, right? So soon price actually got into that extreme. I was also looking on the 15-minute, right? For that change of character. Pretty much there was some sort of parity of, usually there is a parity or confluence of Aussie dollar with Euro USD, right? Pretty much they just move the same, right? So when I saw price actually coming there, I was actually looking for 15-minute change of character. So we had this beautiful change of character right here. Price just, we can see the price actually grabbed the previous high and then pushed to the downside. I had a refined POI, but price didn't come. So price just had a successful retrace. We had a second break of structure. So right here, we can clearly see that on the 15-minute, we have that bearish or the flow transition, right? That means that we have transitioned from bullish to bearish, right? So we had price actually coming to the extreme right here, mitigating this 15-minute POI, and then we saw this huge drop to the downside right here. So we can clearly see that Aussie dollar right now is heavily bearish. It's on the way to take out this daily previous low and continue that move to take the weekly, our monthly week low, right? So far on Aussie dollar, I mean, I'm not seeing something much clean now. Pretty much price just dropped completely. I'm expecting to see price just grab that low, and then we can see a push to the downside. I mean, we can clearly look at this last up candle right here, right? We can see the price actually didn't tap at that POI yet. I mean, if I bring price here, yeah, we didn't have a tap yet. So there is a possibility that this can be an inducement for price to come inside, and then we see a continuation to the downside. Because right here, we can see that we had a break of structure, right? We had a body closure. That's exactly what we want. And so pretty much this is the outlook on the Aussie dollar, right? To see price coming here. And then we have that continuation to the downside to grab that daily week low, right? So that's it for Aussie dollar. Let's move to another pair. So we have GU, right? GU, if we look at GU, for example, from the monthly time frame, we can clearly see that GU, I mean, it's been heavily bearish as well, especially with the recent news of tax cuts. Pretty much it just created a huge, it just gave a huge drop on the pound, right, against the dollar. So, and also we're seeing that there has been a huge, I mean, this constant hiking of interest rates for the dollar. So dollar is valuable right now. So we're seeing pretty much dollar just pushing price to the downside. So right here, we had a break of structure right here, which I usually don't like to consider break of structure with wicks, right? But this means that on the lower time frame, there was some sort of body break, but we had a mitigation right here, but then we had a second break of structure. So pretty much the real break of structure would have been this one right here. Soon price actually closed below this previous low. So we can clearly see that, I mean, GU is heavily bearish, right, from the monthly time frame. We can drop down to the daily time frame, and we can see that price actually came to the extreme. If you look at the previous outlook, the recent outlook that I sent, I actually talked about this POI as well, right? I wanted to see price come into this. This is extreme. It's around the 50% of this range low and high right here. So it came perfectly to that POI. As we can see, price comes to that daily. We can drop down to the 2-hour time frame, and we can see that we had this beautiful change of character right here. And this is one of the reasons why I always stress this about the importance of knowing how to mark your swing structures, right? Because this is absolutely important. We have swing structures and we have internal structures. So our swing structure right here is this high, this low, that then went on to make this high right here. So all of this high, low right here, this is just internal structure, right? This is just substructure inside inside this huge leg. This is just a one bullish leg towards the daily POI, right? And we can clearly see that the change of character actually was finalized right here, right? That's when price actually grabbed that previous low. That's why we saw price actually coming all the way to the extreme right here. We had this huge pullback and then a strong push to the downside. Pretty much this was just the catalyst move to take out this previous swing low, right? So we can see that on the hourly time frame, we just had this huge change of character. This pretty much is the 4-hour, right? If you go to the 4-hour, we can really see this huge, nice candle right here. So this is just the 4-hour change of character. Now we had price mitigating this 4-hour POI. So as we know, 4-hour POI mitigations, we want to go to 15-minute time frame, right? So we come to 15-minute time frame. What do we see, right? We can clearly see that, okay, we had this high, we had this low, then price made this high and then made this low. So what was the expectation of this low? Is to take out the previous high to continue the bullish move, right? That was the expectation. But what happened? This low failed to take out the previous high. So it became what? Weak. So that's a weak low right there because it failed to do its job, which was to take the previous high. We had what we call high reluctancy. Price pretty much failing to put a high. We had break of structure, grabbing that weak low. So as you can see, we can clearly see a beautiful mitigation play happening right here on the GU, right? We had this break, we had a mitigation right there, break, mitigation, break, mitigation. Then we had the second break, body closure right here. So what I'm expecting to see on GU pretty much is to see price actually push into the upside right here. And then we can drop down to 1 minute, 3 minutes time frame. Or some people, if some people want, right? Some people that don't like the lower time frame, you can look for a beautiful 15-minute, 5-minute change of character, and soon price gets into the POI, and then you can sell, right? I mean, if you look at the high time frame, the high time frame directional bias is bearish. So to go pro trend, we want to follow the high time frame trend, which is to look for sales, right? So long-term sales, I would be looking to see some sort of reaction like this POI on the lower time frames, pretty much just to increase the strike rate. And yeah, pretty much that's it for GU, right? We're on bearish, 15-minute bearish, daily bearish, monthly bearish. So that's pretty much how we establish this symbiosis, right, of the high time frame with the lower time frame. So let's move to another pair. So we've got New Zealand dollar, right? If we look at New Zealand dollar from the monthly time frame, we can clearly see that New Zealand dollar has been bullish, right? We see that we had this previous high, then this low, then price actually pushed to the upside, made this new high. So we have this solidified swing high, solidified swing low. Then we have a break of structure again right here. So we can clearly see that we had this very extreme order block, right? This actually was the last down candle before this up move right here. We can clearly see the imbalances that was left there. We actually saw price pretty much just creating this inducement right here, right? We're seeing that price now is just about to grab that low, come inside this POI, and then we'll more likely to see some sort of continuation to the upside. Now, for me, soon price gets into this monthly POI, I will be looking for some sort of weekly change of character, right? I mean, we don't have to be first in the market trying to pick the tops and bottoms, right? Just wait for price to show you their cards, right? Wait for price to give you that weekly change of character, and then, right, we can look for buys all the way up, right? To grab this previous high. We can clearly see that we had relatively equal highs, right? That's liquidity. So we have a target from a high time frame perspective, right? So monthly is bullish. Now price on the lower time frame is bearish, which means that it's on this bearish order flow towards this bullish monthly POI. So then we can look for buy. So let's drop down to the daily time frame on Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar. We can see that we had this nice buy to sell candle right here, right? Some people call it inside bar. That's absolutely correct. So we had price actually come in here and mitigating this POI. Now there is something very interesting on Kiwi dollar, is that if we come to the 4-hour time frame, we see that we had this daily POI mitigation. What I was looking for was for the 1 minute change of 1 hour change of character, right? The hourly change of character. So what happened is that we had a break of structure. This actually was the low that created this new high right here. So we had a change of character right here, right? So that was the change of character. So the POI that I had was this one right here, because this pretty much was the catalyst move that went on to grab this previous low. Now, what happened is that now we just had the breaker block mitigation, right? I think I spoke on the first video. I'll actually pop up a link of that. I actually spoke a little bit of the difference between order blocks and breaker blocks. I'm actually making a video on that, pretty much just to go more in depth. But if you look at that, when it comes to the breaker blocks, right, we can clearly see that the sell, right, if you look at this right here, we can see that price grabbed these previous lows right here. We can see that this week pretty much just grabbed this liquidity that was sitting below right here. So we had this sell, we had a push to the upside, right? And then we had this strong drop. Now, when it comes to mitigations, right, that means that institutions, in order to grab this previous high right here, they had to buy, right? So they had to put buy orders to grab this previous high right here, and then they had to sell immediately. And so because institutions, they don't use stop losses, because if they use stop loss, for example, on this buy order to take out this previous high, and then they sold immediately. That means that they would have they would have to accept this loss. And we know that this, banks and financial institutions, they are very greedy. They don't like to lose like that, right? So that means that they leave this buy position open, then they sell immediately. Now they have two options. They can close that buy position at either a break even or a little bit of profit. So when they come to the order block right here, for example, if they decided to come all the way up to this order block right here, that means that this buy order, they will be closing at a little bit of profit. But because we have this breaker block mitigation, because the buy order actually started right here, right, to take out the previous high, that means that right now they're actually get to mitigate that buy position at break even. That's what we call breaker blocks, right? So we saw price actually doing this breaker block mitigation. We can drop down, for example, to the 15-minute time frame. So price actually got there, right? If you look at the swing structure, right, it's very easy to see the swing structure on the 15-minute, right? We looked at high, we have this low. This low was responsible for putting a new higher high, right, which is right here. So we had this high, and then we had this pretty much this low, but price actually failed to close above that. So our major swing structure was this low right here. So that's why we had a change of character right here. We had a nice mitigation of this sell. Let's buy before the sell, right? And then we have this huge drop to the downside right there. I mean, price just melted completely, right? And so we can clearly see that New Zealand dollar is just very bearish towards that monthly bullish POI, right? So pretty much we can clearly see this alignment of the high time frames and then the lower time frames pretty much just coinciding with the pretty much a high time frame. That's why this is pretty much what explains the fractal nature of price, right? Whatever happens on the lower time frame, it will reflect on the high time frame, right? So pretty much that's what we're seeing. I mean, on New Zealand dollar, pretty much price just gave this huge push right here. I mean, the range, when you look at the range low and high, this pretty much is the range. Some sort of 50% mitigation would have been very, very good in order for me to sell. But there is a possibility the price can just keep dropping to the downside towards that monthly bullish POI, right? So pretty much that's it for New Zealand dollar, right? Let's move to another pair, right? USD CAD is kind of interesting, right? And when you look at it, we can clearly see that we had this previous high, then we had this low, and then price made this new high. And then we had price coming down to the extreme of the order block that was responsible for creating this high right here. Price just came here and pushed to the upside. But what happened? This low failed to do its job, which was to create a high. So it became weak. What happened? We had a high reluctancy. Price just came and took that previous low, right? Because it was weak. So we saw price actually just breaking that low. If we come to the weekly time frame, we can clearly see some sort of body closure right here. Pretty much price closed below that previous low. So we had the low being violated. Now price actually came to this last up candle before the down move that was responsible for taking out that weekly previous low. Price now is doing a mitigation at that POI, and the dollar, pretty much the dollar is very strong right now, and eventually we're gonna have to see some pullback, right? We have huge imbalances sitting below right here. If we look at the weekly swing structure right here, right now, we can see that we had this high, low, that price made this new high right here. So pretty much we want to see some sort of 50% at least pull back before we see a continuation to the upside, or we will just see the dollar pushing to the downside, right? So if you look at the POI that was responsible for taking out this previous high, we can clearly see this less down candle right here before the up move. So there's a possibility that price may pull back a little bit and probably continue to the upside, right? Because we're seeing there is this fundamental analysis that, the dollar is more likely to see more interest rates hiking, right? So, we will pretty much see what's going to happen in the weeks ahead. If we come to the 4-hour time frame, for example, right? We can see that the 4-hour is still bullish, right? price is still bullish right here. We don't have any sign yet of that bearish order flow to correct the imbalances sitting below. So price right now is still bullish. I mean, in order for me to sell anything, I would just recommend to wait for some sort of change of character for price to take out this low right here. Because pretty much this is the low that was responsible for taking out this previous high. And then price just pushed all the way up here. We had this nice V-shaped recovery right here. So pretty much I'm just trying to see if we will have some sort of 4-hour change of character so we can look for sales to correct the weekly imbalances sitting below, right? So that's pretty much it for USD CAD. I mean, so far on the lower time frame, there is nothing clean to look for. We will just have to be patient for price to show us their cards, and then we'll be able to explore the lower time frames, right? So let's move to another pair. Now, UJ, right? UJ pretty much is the, I mean, if we look at the UJ and USD CAD, I mean, they have this little bit of correlations that we see in price just pushing to the upside, right? We can see the strength of the dollar. But if you look at UJ from a long-term frame, I mean, from a long-term perspective, we can see that, I mean, the dollar was weak against the yen. I mean, for so long, we can see that we had this low, high, then price actually broke structure, created the new low, then we had this high, then price actually broke this low right here. So pretty much this were our monthly swing structures right here, right? Now, what happened is that we're seeing that price actually just broke this previous high, pretty much just violated this bearish order flow right here on the UJ. So we're seeing that the dollar now is gaining some sort of strength against the yen, and we just see this huge push. I mean, since the beginning of 2021, right? That's when price just started to push all the way to the upside. Actually, UJ was one of my favorite pairs that I used to trade a lot, but ever since we started seeing this strong push, I mean, this non-stop push to the upside, they were not, I mean, clean setups that I could look for myself. But we're just seeing this push to the upside right here. We saw that price actually took out this solidified previous high. I mean, this internal solidified high right here with this push. We had this failure to put a lower low, then price pushed to the upside. And we have loads of imbalances sitting below. So there is a possibility that we may see a pullback, right, on the UJ very, very soon. If we come down to the daily time frame, right, we can clearly see that we had, I mean, on the daily, we can see that the structure is still heavily bullish, right? We had this high, the low, swing high, right? Swing structure. We have the low, and then we have price push to the upside. So there is a possibility that we may see price actually dropping towards this POI. Now, for that, I would really recommend to wait for the 4-hour change of character or 1-hour change of character right here. So far, I mean, UJ is bullish right now. So there is no sign of bearish reversal of pullback, right, towards this daily POI. Price is just pushing to the upside right now. So that's it for UJ, right? We'll be very patient to see what on the week ahead, what UJ will give us, right? So in order for us to sell, I would love to see that 4-hour change of character that can give us a signal that, okay, now price is just about to do a pullback towards this daily POI, right? So that's it for UJ. Let's move to another pair. So now we are on gold, right? So when we look at gold, right, pretty much gold is just the same outlook that we had on the previous videos, right? We can clearly see this strength. I mean, the gold, as we know, gold is just an edge against the dollar inflation. So we can see the strength of the gold. I mean, for a long-term strength of gold against the dollar. We can clearly see that we had this high, right? Then price pulled back. We had a high reluctancy, and then price just grabbed this huge pool of liquidity that was sitting below. I mean, I think we can see it much better on the weekly time frame. Yes, absolutely. So we can clearly see that we had this huge pool of liquidity right here. I mean, so many orders sitting. So now we saw the price just grabbed all that liquidity, came to this beautiful order block right here for the up move right here. So we had just this mitigation right here at this weekly POI. We can drop down to the daily time frame. We can see that on the daily time frame, we had a nice change of character, right? Because If you look at it, we had a nice solidified low right here, right? Let me just mark it better. So we had this low, the high, and then price made this new low right here, right? And then we had a push to the upside. Price came to the extreme of this 4-hour POI right here, right? But so far, we just had this nice daily change of character. As we know, change of character is never a confirmation of trend shift, right? So we can say that, okay, now on the daily, we're bullish. Change of character is just the first sign of bullish intention. We would like to see price actually respecting this order block and then create a second break of structure that can give us a signal that, okay, now the daily has turned bullish and we're about to push to the upside, right? So if we come to the 4-hour time frame, right, we can clearly see that we have this extreme order block right here sitting below. So there is a possibility that we may see actually gold pushing towards this POI right here. So we can see a continuation to the upside, right? So some price gets here, I would recommend to wait. I personally don't trade gold, but for those that trade, I would really recommend to wait for 15-minute change of character. Soon price gets to this or POI, and then you can drop down to 3 minutes. That's pretty much just to increase your strike rate, right? But for people who don't have time, a nice 15-minute 2 breaks of structure would have been a great confirmation that for price that can give us that signal that price is now ready to push to the upside. Okay, so that's it for gold. Let's move to another pair. Now, US 30, right? We can start from the monthly time frame, right? We can see that, I mean, US 30, pretty much the structure, overall structure is bullish, right? I mean, we had price taking out that low before, but then we just had this push to the upside right here. I mean, some people think that, you know, we're on a recession, the stock market is crashing and stuff like that, but this is the importance of understanding market structure, right? If you trade US 30, we can see that we just had this nice change of character. Price pretty much is just doing a mitigation right now with this bullish order block. And there is a possibility that we may see price actually continue to the upside, right? And we have to see that, you know, the news about the recession in the US, and people look at the US 30, right? Like, oh, okay, it's just dropping. We have to understand that US 30 is just an index, right? It's the 30 best companies in the US. And that doesn't mean that, you know, if any index is pushing to the upside, that doesn't mean that all 30 companies are doing great. Sometimes it can be 10 or just 7 companies that are doing absolutely great that actually push the index to the upside. So pretty much we just had this change of character. We had this bullish of the block. We had price doing a nice mitigation right here. So this is the monthly. We can drop down to the daily time frame, right? So if we come to the daily time frame, we can clearly see that we had a beautiful change of character right here, right? And this is what we call the first sign of bullish intention, right? Change of character, or people say chalk, right? That's the same thing. We can clearly see that from the 4-hour, right? We had this beautiful change of character, price push to the upside. We had the extreme order block right here. If you look at this wick right here, let me just zoom in right here. You can clearly see that we had this down candle right here, right? Look at this wick right here. This wick pretty much liquidated the previous the previous candle wick, right? So it just liquidated and pushed to the upside. It was never mitigated, right? We can see that price actually started right here. The next candle started here and pushed to the upside. So this was the last point of mitigation, of possible mitigation, right? That PO actually was left unmitigated and was the pretty much was the catalyst, right, to push to the upside. Because if you understand what happened with this candle is that we had something like this, right? Let me just give this example, right? So what happened is that the candle was doing this right here, right? So that means that we had sellers pushing price to the downside all the way here. And then we had buyers come in and close the candle here. So when you look at it, you ask yourself, okay, when was the last sell? It's on this week right here. This was the last sell right here, what we call last point of sellers exhaustion, right? That's when sellers exhaust all their position. The buyers came in, pushed the candle up all the way to break this high. That's why we had the price actually coming down to this extreme order block, and we had this nice push to the upside right now. So when it comes to this, we can drop down to the 1-hour time frame, right? We can just see that we had a nice change of character right here on the 1 hour. We can clearly see this right here was the first sign of bullish intention, right? For price to continue to the upside. Now, there is a possibility that, price is likely to come to the extreme, right? I mean, there is a possibility that price can come all the way to the extreme. If we use the 2 hour time frame, yes, there is a possibility that price may come all the way down here. And then I would love to see a 15-minute change of character to the upside, right? To pretty much just give us that signal that, okay, we're about to take that, we're about to give that the second break of structure, right? On the daily time frame. So that's it for US 30, right? I mean, our bias right now is bullish, right? On US 30. We just had this bullish mitigation right here of this monthly POI. So the daily just turned bullish with that change of character. 1 hour is bullish. So we're looking for that 15-minute to be bullish as well. And then we can take a buy, right? So that's it for US 30. Let's move to another pair. So crypto, right? Now, Ethereum, pretty much the outlook is the same. I mean, as the other one that I did on the previous market outlook video, right? We can clearly see that we had, if you look at the swing structure, right, of Ethereum, we can see that from the monthly time frame, it's been bullish, right? We had this high, then the low, and then price pushed to the upside right here. And if you look at what was responsible for breaking this previous high, we can clearly see that we had a nice down candle before the up move right here. Let me zoom in. If we look here, we can clearly see we had this beautiful down candle before the up move. We can clearly see that we had loads of imbalances that were left here, fair value gap, right? So this fair value gap is just another confluence as to why price needs to pull back all the way down to this candle, right? So this is just a nice confluence to have, right? Fair value gap. So that means that the buyers right here, the sellers couldn't counter this buy move right here, but it was just straight buys. So this just created the imbalance. So we need to see that correction, right? So we can bring balance to the price. So we're just seeing this huge pullback. I mean, crypto has been, it's been crashing, right? But if you understand the market structure, you'll be able to see, okay, maybe price is coming to this POI and then we will see a major buy to the upside, right? So there is no reason to panic, right? That's why we say that structure is king, right? Because if you understand that, you will be able to better position yourself in the market, right? So I will be very patient when it comes to buy crypto, especially Ethereum. I'll be very patient to see price coming towards this bullish POI, so then we can buy all the way up, right, to that all-time high. Now, if we drop down to the weekly, to the daily time frame, right? Let me just go to the daily time frame. We can clearly see that we had this weekly break of structure right here. Price came to the weekly, the extreme weekly POI. We had a beautiful 2 breaks of structure right here. This is just that bearish order flow transition confirmed, right, on the daily time frame. We see that from the high time frame, such as monthly, we're seeing that monthly pullback, right, that bearish order flow to all the way to that monthly bullish POI. So we can clearly see that the weekly is bearish now with this daily just turned bearish with these 2 breaks of structure. We just had that bearish order flow transition. Now we actually seeing the price actually was on this ranging markets right here. We just had price taking out the low with this week right here. We can see the price actually failed to close below and push. So there is a possibility that we may see price actually coming all the way down to this POI. We can clearly see imbalances right here. This is just a confluence, right? Fair value gap, very important. Confluence was to why price needs to come back to this POI, right? Because we see that we had it was followed by huge momentum to the downside that wanted to grab this previous low, right? So there is a possibility that we will see price actually just push to the upside, and then we see a continuation to the downside all the way to our monthly bullish POI, right? So pretty much that's how, that's pretty much how we do, how we establish this great relationship of the higher time frame with the lower time frames, right? So if you guys, that's pretty much it, right, for the market outlook series. I would like to invite you guys to my private group right here. This private, public community right here, we can really see that this is what I share every single day, right? I mean, Outlook, sometimes I give updates on setups. It can be like a 15-minute for people that don't have time to be on the chart. So it's just a nice, public channel right here. I just dropped nice, the YouTube videos right there for the people. Outlooks every single day. I send outlooks on with the daily 4 hour and 15 minutes so you guys can take advantage. I've seen a lot of people actually been texting me saying that, the markups are helping them better understand the market. So pretty much that's how, what I do on this public, on this free Telegram community, right? So feel free to join. The link will be on the description below. So I'll end the video right here, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you give me the like button, right? Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Make sure you leave a comment down below. And I see you guys in the next time.